This is ContactTalkRadio.com, consciousness in action, and you are taking action into your consciousness by tuning into Contact Talk Radio.
And on TuneIn.com, Ping.fm, and UpSnap Mobile.
Contact Talk Radio.
Welcome to Life Mastery with Todd Allen, the talk radio show that dives into the science of higher consciousness. Join Todd and his guests weekly at 10 a.m. Pacific Time and learn how to live a peaceful life with intentional mastery. Enjoy a survey of inspiring topics such as abundance, intention, health, manifestation, love, and transformation. It's all right here, leading authors, speakers, coaches, entrepreneurs with stories and messages to support your well-being, let alone your most evocative dreams.
Hey, it's another groovy day, and most of you know why that is, but I'm going to tell you anyway. That's because when I got up this morning, I decided it was going to be a groovy day, and that's the way I start every day. And if something else happens that's not so groovy, then I just think back, hey, I started this day in a groovy way. I'll just continue on that way. That's the way that works for me. And it's also a groovy day because I get to hang out with some really, really cool people on this show called Life Mastery Radio with Todd and Jackie. I'm Todd. That's Jackie. And our guest is sitting patiently and quiet just for a minute while we get the show started. That's the way it works. Life Mastery Radio is the talk show that brings you great thoughts and ideas for you to use on your very own life mastery journey. As always, I like to get the show started by getting myself centered and situated and organized and just clear. And I do that, first of all, by taking in a deep breath, way down deep. And I think about where I get my power from. It could be God, it could be Allah, it could be the dude, it could be the tree outside your window, the doorknob that lets you in your space. But think about that. Where do you get your power from? Deep breath. And then let that breath out with a big ah, and just let it flow up through your heart center, your throat chakra, and right out of your speaker box out into the universe. And now this time, consider your dreams, visions, and goals. What is it that you want to bring into your life? Or what is it you're thinking about? What is it that you want to accomplish? Get that locked into your mind. Take in a deep breath. And let that flow through you out of your speaker box to the universe with a big And here's the deal. Allow the universe the opportunity to make those come true for you. Look, Jackie's all into it. She's all focused, looking down. Hi, Jackie. My co-host is with me today. Everybody knows Jackie. Yay, Jackie. We'll give the sign for clapping. How are things in Jackie's world?
Yeah, ramping up, getting busy. Things are happening. We've been doing some other trainings besides what the Speak Feed Lead project typically does is our 8-week courses through the school year. We have some opportunities to give some classes, online classes to a youth center in Indiana. And these are kids that are at risk. And there's a nonprofit that works with these kids on a regular basis, and they like us to come in and give some classes for them. And then there's also a place in Framingham, Massachusetts that is it's an organization that serves families who are grieving. They've lost a loved one, could be husband, father, brother, something like that. And so they work with these families for 2 to 4 years.
Wow.
Giving them support, counseling, help, and they've asked us to come in and have a game night with these families. So we're going to do some improvisation and communication type games with families that include parents and children, and just to give the families a break. So we're excited about that.
And
being able to
you're doing that through the Speak Feed Lead project.
Yeah, we are. Yeah.
People can find out
So-
more by going to speakthelead.org. Jackie's doing some amazing things. We taught last week at a elementary school, 4th graders.
That's right.
You know what's even more amazing about that, Jackie, is your course material was really cool, and it referenced Dale Carnegie. And our guest today is a Dale Carnegie instructor.
I know. There's a connection, always a connection.
Well, something our guest talks about is synchronicity. So maybe we'll have to explore that a little bit more. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I want to remind our listeners that today's show page is at www.lifemasteryradio.net or .com, whichever one you prefer, or type out first. And anything we talk about on the show today, the links will be there. The links are there to our guest's content. She has a really cool website, book, and has done some amazing things. And Jackie and I have a lot in common with her. I think we're going to talk a little bit about that. We belong to this organization that just grabs you and creates this transformation in you that you don't even know that happens until one day you think, gosh, when did I start working? When did I start thinking like that? Truly, it happens. And we'll talk a little bit about that. Yep. While you're at the website, you can check out my book, 6 Keys to Life Mastery. And I'm going to tell you something. I think our guest today and I were cut from the same rug because we have the same thoughts and ideas. I was reading her book and I'm thinking, wait a second, this sounds like my book.
Sounds really familiar. What's going on?
And Jackie's book is there. Jackie has the book. We have the link up there to Amazon. You can get her book. And cue for guests to hold her book up. Our guest has a book as well. And this is a really cool book. It's Tsunami to Greatness. And it's got some really neat stuff. It's a great read and some exercises. And it's pretty cool. And let's see. Jackie, I don't have an introduction. Do you?
Well, I can tell you what I know.
Okay.
Yeah, this is Maria Mantoudakis I'm hoping I'm saying that right. Mantoudakis.
You said it perfectly.
All right, awesome. She is, as Todd mentioned, she's an author. She's an award-winning motivational speaker. She's a transformational leader. She's a personal development coach. And she's a Toastmaster, which makes her awesomely cool. In addition, Maria is client lead at British Telecom Americas. She knows all stuff about communication. Her work experience includes a more than 30-year career with British Telecom, AT&T, Lucent Technologies, and Alcatel. She has also recently launched her company for personal development and transformation, which is called Recreate Success Now. And her passion is in the areas of personal and professional development. That includes motivational speaking, coaching, leadership, transformation. She's a former certified instructor of the Dale Carnegie course, which she taught for 15 years. And she's also, in 2017, she became a certified trainer of the Jack Canfield Success Principles program. And she focuses on intentional living through the creation and realization of life purpose and success. And of course, Todd mentioned she's got this book out that's called Tsunami to Greatness. So she is going to blow in here like a storm of big walled water. And she is going to fill us with inspiration, I'm sure. So welcome today, Maria Mantoudakis. Whoop, whoop. All right.
Thank you so
Welcome.
much, Jackie. Thank you. And thank you, Todd. What a privilege to be on your show.
Can we have that in writing? We need that in writing. That's the second time I've heard that. So let's just put on our Toastmasters hats just for a minute. But all three of us are involved in the organization. Jackie and I both went to the top. Well, not the very tippy top, but we got pretty darn close. We were like the bus drivers to 4,000 members in our district. That's pretty close to the top, don't you think, Jackie?
Yeah, definitely.
So before the show, Maria, Jackie and I were discussing that, and I'm really curious on your take, since you're involved in both organizations, of the differences. I mean, they both take people by the hand and kind of give them confidence and that sense of security in speaking to people. But let's drill down on that a little bit. What are some of the big differences?
Between Toastmasters
and the Dale Carnegie program.
The Dale Carnegie program. The Dale Carnegie program is amazing. You could take a course for 8 weeks, and basically the person that comes in is different than the person that comes out, right? So, like I had the privilege of being a trainer of the Dale Carnegie course. It's amazing just watching transformation. And I know that you and Jackie both, Jackie gets to see it in the children, you're so involved with life transformation. So it was basically the greatest experience to watch life transformation. And you also get this answer, when people say, well, that person could do it, but I can't do it. Because you get to understand that it's possible for anyone, right? Mm. So one is an 8-week experience. I see Toastmasters as a lifetime experience.
Yeah.
Toastmasters, one is a course. During those 8 weeks, you do have some experiences, exercises, homework.
Kind of a turbo boost into growth.
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, I know it's also offered in shorter time frames, in 3 days and all that good stuff. But Toastmasters basically is where you're going to belong the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Even when you say I've had enough, I'm going to walk away, you always come back, right?
Just keeps pulling you back in.
Well, it's the community, right? That's the biggest difference between the two. A quick 8-week deal, and then in Toastmasters, you really develop a kinship and a community, and it's and you're not showing up and doing coursework and an intense study. It's just in Toastmasters, you show up, you do what's suggested, and you work on yourself at your own pace and do things, and then all of a sudden the transformation occurs, and you're not even aware that you even started out for the transformation.
Absolutely. It all starts with the realization that my transformation is outside of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
My transformation is somewhere that I can't see right now.
Well said.
So, and that could take 8 weeks or less, or that could take a longer time, right? We were talking about how at Toastmasters, you get a phone call last minute to do something.
That's true.
Right? You could say no to everything, or you could say yes to everything. But you know that if you say yes to everything, you're going to find yourself in super uncomfortable situations. And that's where your growth is, right outside of your comfort zone.
Cool. Well, there we go, Jackie. We know the difference.
We know the difference.
And I bet you have a question too.
Well, I was just going to ask Maria, since she has been on this transformational journey for a long time and still wants to be part of it, I'm feeling this need to know your story. How did you get to where you are, and why Tsunami? Why is Tsunami, which is such a powerful imagery, why that term for your book? So I'm just going to set the stage for you to go back as far as you'd like and tell us, what you're motivated by.
So I would say that I started out as a corporate person. I started with AT&T when I was 22, and I was very intense and very career oriented. And what happened in 1995 was one of my team members came to me and said, can I take a presentations class? And I thought that was a really good idea. He was a good presenter, but he was never in tune with the audience. Sometimes he would turn his back to the audience to look at the PowerPoint.
Yeah.
He's just not in tune with the audience. So I was like, yeah, presentations class would be good. So he came back with a flyer. That was a flyer for the Dale Carnegie course. And he said, well, I'm going to be taking this for 12 weeks because back then it was 12 weeks. And I'm looking at this flyer and it said, you're going to have self-confidence and leadership and all this stuff. And basically I said, what a scam, right? So I said to him, no, just take a presentation class. It takes 2 days, 3 days. They videotape you. You look at yourself, you learn some things. So he was insisting, no, I'm going to take this class. So again, this was very intense, Marie. I picked up the phone and I called the Dale Carnegie office and I said, what a scam. Look at this. How could you do all these things for people like leadership skills and confidence? Um, and the gentleman that picked up the phone basically said to me, let's do this. Let your person take the course. And if you don't see a change in him, then call us back. We'll talk about it. But if you see a change in him, then you have to take the course.
A great salesman.
Mm-hmm.
Needless to say, I took the course and then I was with that organization for a very, very long time. I never left it, actually. I took the course in 1997 and then I was a coach for them. And then, like I said, I became a trainer for them for 15 years. And that's where the door opened for me to this other world, the world of life transformation. You could kind of see hundreds and hundreds of people transform, even the ones that refuse to.
Yeah.
Would come out a little bit different, right? Because it's a personal decision. You could decide, no, I'm not changing. But yet you're still experiencing something and you're starting to want to, right? So so that was basically the reason I stopped several things. Was my job became extremely intense. I was working 21-hour days during the 2015, 16, 17 time frame. So I kind of quit everything personal in order to fulfill my role. Then 2017, I started with Dale Carnegie. I'm sorry, with Jack Canfield Success Principles, became certified with that, and was doing some coaching again around my job. What happened with the book was my publisher and I are still trying to figure out why I received a phone call that basically said, are you interested in writing a book? And of course, every time I was teaching Dale Carnegie, I'm a stories person. I could make up a story, or I always have stories. And I said, yes, while I was teaching this class, everybody was telling me that I should write a book. I think I'm going to call it Maria's Stories. So she said to me, well, if you were Oprah, that would work. But if no one knows you, it might not be a successful book. And she invited me. This is Christine Closer, Capuccia Publishing. She invited me to, you probably know Christine, Jackie, from, Christine invited me to an event that she was holding that was called Breakthrough. And this was 2018. Again, in my mind, I wanted to write Maria's Stories. And during this event, Christine was doing a meditation just like Todd was just doing. And what I kept hearing in my head was tsunami to greatness. And to be honest, initially I got scared. I don't want to hear tsunami in my head. I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know if it's something I should be fearful. Again, tsunami, and then you kind of hear the negative and you don't hear the positive. Tsunami to greatness, I have no idea what that is, but it's scary. So I walked up to Christine. I was like, I keep hearing tsunami to greatness. And she said, don't worry about it. That's the title of your book that I hadn't thought about or written about. So a year later, I went back to the Breakthrough event that Christine was holding. And that's when I decided I was going to sit down and write the book. And what basically triggered it was having coffee at Starbucks. So I'm sitting at Starbucks enjoying my coffee. And, there's always people that come and sit next to you and enjoy their coffee. And you kind of try not to listen into the conversation, but you do. I was by myself. And all of a sudden, these two teenagers came and sat next to me. And I was really not listening until I heard that they were doing something bad to themselves.
Mm.
They were contemplating ending their life. And I couldn't believe that they were having that conversation very nonchalantly. Like, what did you have for breakfast this morning?
Mm.
And I wanted to talk to them, but then I was saying, Maria, mind your own business. Don't say anything. And of course, after a while, they left. And I so had a message to tell them. And I started thinking about being a teenager. And what did I know when I was a teenager? And if somebody asked me back then, I would have said, I know everything. When I was a teenager, I just knew everything.
Wait a second, that was me.
Absolutely. But when you look at it now, you're like, oh my gosh, I thought I knew everything. But I really didn't know anything, right? And I started remembering all the different versions of ourselves that we go through. And how in every version we think we know everything. But in the next version of ourselves, we look back and we're like, what was I thinking, right? Sometimes I know people come up to me and they ask me, why did you do that? 30 years ago. And I look at them like, I have no idea. Like, that was a different person, right? So I started thinking, what if we put out there that whoever you are today is a different person than the person you're going to be after a life transformation? And that life transformation normally happens after a life tsunami, right? Something overwhelming happens. Now, this overwhelming something is the end of the world for you. But just to put it in the right context, when you're a teenager, you're 14 years old, your boyfriend breaks up with you, and you think it's the end of the world. You think you can't live, you can't go on, this is it, But now when we look at it, oh yeah, my boyfriend broke up with me when I was 14, and you laugh about it. It is so insignificant now.
But it was a big deal then.
Right, it was such a big deal. So that's where my book goes, right? It's knowing that whatever you're going through right this moment, because right this moment we hear it. You can't talk to anybody who's not talking about COVID and talking about how sad they are. We're locked up in the house, we're under quarantine, and those are the lucky people. Those are the people that haven't lost anyone, right? But it seems like we're so overwhelmed with what is going on in the world. But what if we knew that what's coming up is a new person who's going to be brilliant? We're brilliant right now, but imagine being more brilliant in the next version of us, right? So, Jackie, that's where the title came from. That's where the book came from. It has a lot of messages. The one message, of course, starts with the overwhelm, the tsunami. And it, it's just like being locked in a basement, right? You think, I'm locked down here, I can't get out. This will never be over, right? Like, some of us, if we think of COVID back in March of a year ago, we thought it will never be over. We thought, oh my God, there was absolutely nothing ahead of us, right? But look at it, from my perspective, a year later, I have a book.
Yeah. Well,
right?
it's created so many opportunities for other people. I mean, we live in a different world now, right? I mean, the
Yeah.
tsunami hit us. I just love your metaphor. I now get it even more after reading your book and then after your explanation. It's so true,
Yeah.
so true. You know, I was really curious when reading your book. You talk about these spiritual principles, and they're the same ones I was taught and the same ones that I identify with. And I was wondering, who influenced her? Where did she pick these up? So have you always had this understanding, or when did this part of the story begin?
So when I was writing my book, Tsunami to Greatness, I was thinking I was it was going to be another book about the law of attraction, right? Um, Telling people who are overwhelmed that beginning right this moment, the greatest thing about life is every single moment you have the opportunity to start over, right? What I do the next minute triggers the rest of my life, right?
Mhm.
So it was going to be the law of attraction. And as I was writing, I was thinking, why are we stuck on the law of attraction? Like everyone only talks about the law of attraction when there are so many universal laws. So I decided to stop and start writing about universal laws. So the book has a part one that talks about our human side and our true self. And then in the part two, I start talking about universal laws and practices. So there's 12 laws of the universe. There are also scientific laws that affect us. One of them is the law of attraction,
Hmm.
but the law of attraction is interacting with a whole bunch of other stuff, right?
They all are, really. I
They
mean,
all absolutely. But then even when you discuss all the laws and you put those next to that, all of a sudden you're like, then there's like all this other stuff. There is gratefulness, right? If you're grateful, you could overcome anything. There is kindness, there is love, there are all these other things that contribute to our well-being and to our future. So then I started a list of spiritual practices, right? um, and then came synchronicity, right? All the things that happen that bring you to exactly where you are. And if you take any situation, even if you take today and you go back, you will see it was all synchronicity.
that's true.
And what if we knew that everything that happens is perfect?
Hmm.
Would that give us a different perspective?
No.
Well, Maria, like Todd said, that your metaphor of the tsunami was really good. And as you continue to explain some of these laws, it's hard for me to get that image now out of my head because I can see how some of the experiences I've had in life have been very much like that tsunami, where there's many parts to surviving it, right? The initial floodwaters come upon you, and you've got to just right then you're in a crisis to stay afloat, right? You got to keep your head above water, dog paddle, whatever you got to do.
Yeah.
But then the second dangerous part is when that water starts to pull back and recede, and now you've got to grab onto something foundational, and you've got to hold on to that while the water is rushing around you back out to sea, and you've got to hold on there and stay grounded. Then at the end of all of that, now you're sopping wet, you're muddied, you could be living among debris, which you've got to somehow clear out of your path and your life to move forward. And then you've got to start anew because what you thought was normal is no longer normal. And now everything is different, and you've got to learn to not only succeed or survive right that minute, but you've got to make plans for the next few days and beyond that, and then beyond that. And so all of these things, these principles that you teach in your book, they're they are those laws of nature, right? Those universal laws that say, there's gravity, there's synchronicity, there's polarity, there's attraction, there's all these laws. And when you think of a tsunami, all of those laws come into play too. Sometimes they work for you, sometimes they work against you, depending upon where you're at, but they're all there all the time, and you can't do anything about it. You just have to learn how to work within those laws, right?
Exactly.
And so what are some other universal laws that you mentioned 12 of them that are in your book, and what are some ways that we can overlook that or not recognize the power that it has in our lives?
Right. So the universal laws are there for awareness, right? Because even with the law of attraction, there's so many people that say, oh, it doesn't work. I tried it and it doesn't work, right?
Most of the time, you know why that is, Maria?
Oh, several reasons.
Well, the biggest reason is they don't take action.
Right. But there's something in the book that I call contradiction. I didn't know what name to give it, so I gave it the name contradiction. And basically, sometimes, and I'm going to use another example. Sometimes we are in kindergarten and we want to be in high school, right? We want to get promoted out of kindergarten and go into high school. So we try to use the law of attraction. We start writing our affirmations describing high school. Now, as you know, if you take a little kindergarten child and put them in high school, they're going to be lost. In order for them to survive, they have to grow. And the only way to grow is for the opposite of what they want to happen in order for them to understand and appreciate what comes to them. So I call it contradiction when you wish for something and you do your affirmations, your visualization, and all of a sudden you watch the opposite happening. And you think, this is not working, this is putting me backwards. But actually, again, it puts you in a tsunami situation, but that tsunami situation is going to allow you to grow in order to get over the hump, in order to be in high school real quickly, right? Jackie, I'm going to explain. I had a 3-part tsunami in 2008. So in 2008, January 14th starts with January, my mom passes away. And she had Alzheimer's. I was taking care of her. She passes away. 2 weeks later, back then it was when Lucent became Alcatel, and I had spent some time in France with my colleagues at Alcatel. We were talking about future and what we were going to do. And my boss called me up and said, Maria, our whole department got eliminated. And I was like, no. I was just in France.
No.
Yeah, I was like, maybe the whole department is getting eliminated, but not me, because there's plans, like there's stuff that need to happen. She was like, Maria, our whole department got eliminated, which was shocking, right? So that was tsunami number 2, right after tsunami number 1, right? And then at that time, I was engaged for 7 years to a wonderful man. He's still a wonderful man. But right after that, we decided that it was not working out. So I kind of lose the love of my life, right? Like right there. So 3rd tsunami, one right after the other. Now, you were talking, Jackie, about how everything falls apart, right? You have to put yourself back together again. I just want to tell your audience that yes, but sometimes you don't have to do it alone, right? Because what happened to me, my friend Wendy showed up, and she's probably listening to me right now. We bumped into each other. At motor vehicles, right? Like total strangers. And this person became a key person that got me through to the other side, right? So Wendy happens to be well, several angels showed up. Let me tell you about my other angel. My friend Stacy called me up and she said, "Send me your resume." And she just recreated a brand new like I didn't even ask her. Like people were just showing up doing things for me. But what Wendy did for me, she asked me to join her at one of her Mary Kay meetings. Actually, she invited me to just join her at the Mary Kay events. And wouldn't you know it, Mary Kay took the Dale Carnegie course. And when she retired, she decided to start up a company using the Dale Carnegie principles. So to me, it was like a lab, right? Like, oh my gosh, I get to watch how what I'm teaching could evolve into a company, right?
Yeah.
So it became a very interesting experience for me. And again, I was kind of feeling sorry for myself. I lost my mom, I lost my job, I lost my fiance, really, really sad time. But what was going on in that Mary Kay meeting, again, I live near Edison, which is near Newark, New Jersey, and near New Brunswick, New Jersey. Many of the ladies in this Mary Kay unit were from Newark, were from New Brunswick. And when you heard their stories, my story was nothing, right? They had grown up in poverty. They had grown up abused. There was every kind of abuse in the book was described and presented by these ladies. And you were watching them in their business suits, totally successful. They had gone over the rainbow. They had found the rainbow. And it was such an inspirational meeting.
Couple things come to mind with that story, Maria, and that is the Lord works in mysterious ways.
Yes.
And synchronicity, right? I mean,
exactly.
I think that's the point you were getting at is that all of these things were happening, yet the universe was reorganizing to accommodate a new beginning. And they call that entropy. Entropy is a big, bad word, but it also means that things get reorganized and set up for the next evolution.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. So I would say 2008, my worst year and my best year. Yeah. Because what happened after that is I got my job at British Telecom. Love, love, love my company, love my colleagues. Amazing, amazing job. So, I thought I had lost something with Alcatel. I found something 1,000 times better, right? Right after that, I did a Toastmasters inspirational speech. And needless to say, that was a passionate year for me. So that's when I became first runner-up best speaker for New York and New Jersey, right? Like at the district level. So woohoo, a lot of happiness with that. And that was the year that I was top 10% of the personal development course, the Dale Carnegie instructors. So and I went back to Greece. I had left when I was 12 and I had not been back for so many years. So lots and lots and lots of things happened in 2008 that made it my best year, the worst year, the best year. And that's the message that I want everyone to understand, that whatever you're going through right now, it could be the best year of your life, the best year of your life. And it's a
hard pill to swallow sometimes, though, Maria. It's and I think faith and confidence play a big part of it, and having that inside understanding of, okay, what am I to know here, and what's next, and keeping your head up, tail out from between your legs, and a big
exactly, and understanding that synchronicity, identifying, I spoke of Stacy, I spoke of Wendy, identifying the people that come into your life, that appear in your life, that are there to help you and get you to the next level. And also recognizing miracles. And I'm so sorry for going there,
No,
But
totally okay, because I think your point is that if we keep our head up, those opportunities come our way. If our head's down, we can't see them.
Gonna dog paddle.
Exactly, absolutely. But I really truly believe that there's so many miracles taking place every single day, and we miss them. We miss them. You bump into people who say, "Oh, miracles haven't happened since 2,000 years ago, or 5 years ago," and it's like, are you kidding me? Why am I seeing them every day and nobody else can see them?
Well, you hear a lot of people, "Oh, that's just coincidence. That's just coincidence." Well,
yes,
it happens too frequently at amazing times for it to be a coincidence, and then they that would be called synchronicity, or it would be, you talked a lot about it in your book too, and that's vibration. And if you're vibrating at that attractive level or at that level, then things tend to vibrate next to you and come to you because you're at that level.
absolutely, exactly. Many of us don't know about our vibration.
Yeah, that's true.
But like you were saying about waking up in the morning, right? You wake up in the morning, we need to be aware that we have a choice whether we're going to have a good thought or a bad thought, right? And we could wake up in the morning and say, "Oh my God, I don't want to get up. Oh, I have to work. I have to get on a conference call," whatever you might say, right? Or you could get up and say, "Oh my gosh, this is going to be an amazing day."
Yeah.
And that thought triggers how you're going to feel for the day. And that feeling triggers your vibration that goes out there and brings back whatever you put out there, right? That triggers your actions. And again, if your actions are in the wrong vibration, forget it.
Yeah.
Well, now, Maria, there's a part of your title which talks about unleashing the power of self-love. And so all of these things you're saying about, well, you wake up and it's your thoughts that control how your emotions essentially, and how you're going to perform, the energy you're going to be able to attract, that kind of thing. But if someone doesn't love themselves, isn't all of that blocked? I mean, isn't that a big piece of
huge
of being living limitless, is being able to feel love for yourself? And so how is that achieved? Do you address that in your book about how each of us can achieve a greater sense of self-love?
Yes, absolutely. So again, there's so much information. So I started the book by addressing tsunamis and your thoughts. And then the second step was, yes, there is light, and describing what it's like when you first get out of it, right? When you first start snapping out of it, you're kind of in between somewhere. And then I go into a chapter that talks about, let me introduce you to you, right? And I talk about versions of yourself. And then I talk about dimensions, right? So sometimes we're only aware of our human side, and we don't know that we have a true self. And that true self knows everything is okay, knows that we're perfect. And believe it or not, we are perfect. We don't know it because we have a little voice that tells us bad things in our head.
Right.
Again, that's a good little voice. It's trying to protect us. But that's on the human side, right? So I go through all the things that you are, meaning, yes, you're absolutely beautiful. Yes, you're absolutely smart. And yes, you're absolutely perfect. And if you were in school and you couldn't do math, and everybody told you how stupid you are because you couldn't do math, like Einstein was saying that if you judged the fish by how well it could fly, right, it would be a really bad fish.
Right.
We create a level of judgment for ourselves. Some of us are not meant to do math. Some of us are meant to do only math, right? yet we take both of those people and we tell the math person, well, you're imperfect because you don't write well or you don't understand grammar or whatever. We take the person who's very artistic and we say, well, you're imperfect because you can't do this and you can't do that. Instead of understanding that we are perfect based on our purpose and based on what we are supposed to deliver in this life. So I go through the whole self-love thing, and I did create an ebook, Jackie. It's called 5 Ways to Self-Love. So it's totally free. If someone does not want to read the whole book or chapters of the book, I created a little ebook that allows you to take inventory of yourself, look at your skills, look at your talents. And, when I say you're just absolutely beautiful just the way you are, even if you think you aren't, there's something inside of you that says yes, because that is the truth, right?
But we do want to say though, Maria, your book is very easy to read. It's very entertaining. It's very informative. It's clear, concise, and to the point, and it has exercises in it, which I thought was really cool. You can read your thoughts and ideas and then practice it a little bit or anchor it a little bit more into your mind.
Thank you so much.
Well, there's some great testimonials about your book from some pretty influential people, like Marcy Shimoff. She was the #1 New York Times bestselling author of Happy for No Reason and Chicken Soup for the Woman's Soul. And she says about your book, if you're struggling with challenge, adversity, or overwhelm, Tsunami to Greatness will bring you hope and show you what's possible. Maria Mantoudakis' remarkable account of the many miracles throughout her life is an inspiration. Through applying the universal laws and practices offered in this book, you can live your greatest life. Ta-doo! Nice.
But Marcy's amazing. Marcy is just, she has been my mentor forever.
Really? I had her on the show years ago. You and I are going to have to talk because I want to get back. I want to have her back on the show.
Yes, she's amazing. Amazing. The second person that sent in a little blurb was Janet Atwood. She was another one of my mentors, but it came too late. Some people will have it and some people will not because it just came in.
What does Janet have? Janet is the successful speaker, right?
She's the passion test. So with Janet, if you don't know what your purpose is, we talk a lot about purpose. You do the passion test and you know why you're here.
Oh, we're gonna have to.
Oh, cool.
I have a new resource. Thank you.
There you
so
go.
much, Maria.
And Maria, people can check that out. Your website is recreatesuccessnow.com. Am I correct? Okay.
Yes.
So they can find your ebook there, the one for free, and then they can find a way to purchase Tsunami to Greatness as well.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Yep.
Yeah. So what type of person should read your book? What will they get out of this? And what's the type of person that you've been able to influence the most?
Right. So there are 3 categories, right? When I started, I was writing to everyone, but now I'm watching who's replying, right? And I think there's like 3 categories. I'm starting to categorize those who reply. And some are mothers whose children either have gone to college or are about to go. They're about to have an empty nest. And they start questioning what's next, right? Is there a me when the children go away? And, what does life look like? The second category of people that are replying to me seem to be people who have been in a career, have done everything they were supposed to, and all of a sudden they find themselves somewhere where they didn't expect to be. And they're re-examining their life again. And then the third category is people who may be retired, and how do we look at life in the future, right? is it ever over? And the answer is no. As long as you're breathing, as long as you're breathing,
Always something to do.
absolutely, you should be contributing as much as you can. So, so those are the three categories of people. And of course, anyone who's overwhelmed or anyone who's looking for life transformation, I think the book would help.
Nice.
Cool. Well, ladies, we just have about 5 minutes left. Went by really fast, huh, Maria?
Time flies.
What are we missing? Is there anything we missing? Is there anything you'd like to add? You have some amazing things that you talk about in your book, ego and everything else. You know, the ego is a huge part of our getting along in the world. And when I learned to put a throttle on my ego, things got so much easier.
Absolutely. Because the minute you put a throttle on your ego, you're moving towards your true self, right? So in within your true self, um, everything, you have peace, you have spontaneity, you have fun, you have love, you have joy. And again, um, we should learn how to access that. How to access that. It's within all of us. Um, from the perspective of words as we part, um, think of a high-rise building, unlimited floors. Um, never think that this is it, because it's not. There's a next level and a next level. And the higher you go, the more peace and joy and happiness there is. So, and the more you get to experience the synchronicity of things. I would love the audience to start noticing. Notice the magic in your life. Notice the earth angels. Notice the miracles.
Fear of change is a big player in that, right? And we get so hunkered down and I'm so comfy and I don't want to change, and that keeps us stuck.
That's the biggest fear, right? But when we think about fear, it is an illusion. It's an illusion, right? And how do you make it go away? Just be grateful. Gratefulness is such a huge tool, right? So just be grateful and just step out of your comfort zone. The worst that's going to happen is you're going to run right back in. You're going to be exactly where you are, right? Nothing bad is going to happen other than you grow and you get to experience your next level of purpose.
Oh, my friend, thank you so much for joining us today and showing up as you. And a really cool book. You could hold your book up really quickly. Maria has this amazing book, Tsunami to Greatness, and you can find it on Amazon. It's a really cool deal. And
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And Jackie, did you have any takeaways today? Jackie does an amazing job. I just want to, because I don't think I talked about it, but she writes a blog post about our shows every week, and she takes copious notes. And it's just amazing when you read them. It's like, wow, where was I must have stepped out for a minute. But anyway, any great takeaways, Jack?
Well, I mean, there's lots of great takeaways, and Maria's got some great insights into the problems that we all struggle with and the ways to survive those situations in life and circumstances we find ourselves in. And I also have been thinking about prevention. You know, that there is a warning system set up that when a tsunami is coming, we can be prepared for it if we listen to those warning signs. And I don't know if your book addresses those warning signs. I imagine it does. But just as you say, it's that tsunami that is the transformational impetus for us, right? We also can avoid the worst part of that if we are prepared and listen to the voices coming over the loudspeaker saying a tsunami is coming, get to higher ground or whatever. Sometimes we ignore that.
For me, it's always been a brick or two, a chunk of concrete, and then maybe part of a building, and then it's like, wait.
Yes, but thank you, Maria. It was great to have you on the show.
Thank you again, Maria. Thanks, Jackie. That was a really good recap. And Maria, did you have a blast?
This was so much fun. I don't know where the time went. Thank you so much.
That's about all we have time for today. I hope you enjoyed the show. I would really appreciate it if you'd tell a friend about it, sign up for our newsletter, and lastly, please make it a great day, because it is all about choice. And you can also choose to check out Maria's book. Bye-bye for now.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you for tuning in to Life Mastery with Todd Allen, the talk radio show that dives into the science of higher consciousness. Join Todd and his guests weekly at 10 a.m. Pacific Time and learn how to live a peaceful life. For more information on Todd and his guests, visit his website at www.lifemasteryradio.net. That's www.lifemasteryradio.net.